Hello and welcome to a very special conversation. I have with me Milind Deora. He's a former union minister in the UPA government. He's also been a two-term Lok Sabha MP from South Mumbai, and currently he's a Rajya Sabha MP with the Shiv Sena faction led by Eknath Shinde. Welcome to this conversation, Milind.
Thank you, Priya.
But Milind, today also, we are having a conversation in the middle of elections, but also on a day where a candidate from South Mumbai has filed the nomination. The seat has gone to the Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena faction, but the candidate is not you. So how do you feel about that?
So, firstly, to backtrack a bit, I joined this party a few months ago in the middle of January. And within a month of joining this party, the Chief Minister was very gracious in sending me to the Rajya Sabha to represent the party in Delhi. And I had been out of Parliament for 10 years, so I'm looking forward to being back. I've taken oath as a Rajya Sabha MP. Although the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, I know, have huge differences. And as a family, we are more geared towards the Lok Sabha, where you fight elections and you get elected directly by the will of the people, not indirectly. But being in Parliament is obviously, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be able to use the platform of Parliament to further the interests of Mumbai, of Maharashtra, and raise issues of national importance, of course. But this is also the first time that South Mumbai won't have a Deora on the ballot in 44 years.
Correct.
And my father's been fighting elections from here from 1980. I started fighting elections from here in 2004. I fought 4 elections over 20 years. And in that sense, we've received a lot of calls from many people who were a little upset that there's no Deora on the ballot. And that made me feel good. It made me feel happy that we've built this relationship with a large part of the electorate over 45 years. But as a Rajya Sabha MP, although your constituency is really Maharashtra, South Mumbai is my karma bhumi, my janma bhumi. And in that sense, I will continue to represent South Mumbai to the best of my abilities.
But your identity is known as the MP from South Mumbai. In fact, that's how we all used to refer to you in Delhi. So in that sense, I guess you can't take South Mumbai out of Milind Deora.
You can't, and maybe you can't take Milind Deora out of South Mumbai
Either,
also.
yes.
So South Mumbai, as I said, will be an important place for me. It's my home. It's where I was born. It's an area I've represented for a long time. And certainly there'll be a bias towards assisting the needs of people from South Mumbai.
Okay, a little bit, can we talk a bit about the larger picture and then we'll come around to the election in Maharashtra. But how are you seeing the election narrative that is shaping up? We've seen a lot, now of course you're on the other side, but there is a lot of talk about the constitution being challenged. A lot of talk about the Hindu-Muslim narrative is again coming back up. How do you feel when such talk happens?
See, I feel that these are election issues. I know what the opposition's agenda is. I've been in the opposition. It's largely to oppose whatever the Prime Minister is doing. And, my personal view is, Priya, that the fact that a man who came from nothing can become the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy tells me one thing, that our constitution and democracy is stronger than ever. The fact that a man who came from nothing, as humble a beginning as the Prime Minister, is now the Chief Minister of India's second largest state, Maharashtra, is the Chief Minister of India's most industrialized state, of one of India's most progressive states, tells me that the constitution is strong, tells me that our democratic values, traditions are strong. So yes, if someone is saying that our constitution is weak, our democracy is weak because the post of Prime Minister, Chief Minister is no longer reserved for a few set of families, I don't think that's a very fair assessment of our democracy. I think that's being a little elitist by a few people. I think people should be celebrating the fact that our democracy has thrown up leaders like this to represent states and to represent the center.
Both the BJP and the Shiv Sena are basically right-wing parties, but there is a difference between the two, isn't there, between Eknath Shinde's
See, I never buy all this left-wing, right-wing narrative. Sorry?
How?
No, well, firstly, I've never identified as a left-wing politician when I was in the Congress.
Right.
And I don't identify as, I don't see these distinctions of right and left. I think, a bird needs both wings to fly. A bird can't fly with one wing. And in that sense, every country, these are very, these are narratives which are very prevalent now in the US. Or there's left wing, there's right wing. I believe in good ideas. I think, in fact, ideologies, religions sometimes they unite us, sometimes they divide us.
Right.
Sometimes religions and ideologies keep you together, bring people together. But sometimes ideologies make people dislike each other, make people oppose for the sake of opposing. I've always believed in good ideas, in good people. And my father joined politics because of his affinity to Indira Gandhi ji. It was not driven by the Congress's ideology at the time. People often mistake this about my late father. In fact, there were many things he didn't agree with about the Congress's ideology. Congress was at the time nationalizing the private sector. He was someone who believed that we should have a robust private sector to compete globally. He was someone who believed we should reduce the market share of the public sector vis-a-vis the private sector. He would never have identified as a left-wing politician. There was nothing left-wing about him. There was nothing right-wing about him. He believed in good ideas from the left and good ideas from the right. So I don't like to get pigeonholed into that categorization of left and right. And I think that a man like Eknath Shinde ji, who I'm working with now, I don't think he can get pigeonholed into a left versus right narrative. I think he wants to work. He's a man who's accessible. He's a man who's pro-development oriented. He's a man who believes in welfare schemes. He's a man who wants to take all communities and religions along. Is that classified as right-wing? Is that classified as right-wing, left-wing? I don't know. So I don't.
That's a different Hindutva, if you may call it, from the way the BJP
See,
talks.
I think
the
Hindutva,
BJP hasn't given a ticket to a Muslim.
I think Hindutva is a very different thing from. Well, Congress hasn't given a ticket to a Muslim from Maharashtra. And a Muslim leader in Maharashtra is very upset about it and has gone public with it. Not just Congress, but MV haven't given a ticket to a Muslim in the second largest state in India. What does that mean? Does that mean Congress is Hindutva? So these are all, these are I don't buy into these things. I think, for instance, when the Prime Minister removed 370, abrogated 370, let's talk about a very polarizing issue.
All right.
When the Prime Minister abrogated 370, firstly, I can tell you I was in the Congress. I supported the initiative. Why did I support the initiative? Because I love Kashmir. Because I've been to Kashmir several times as a child. Pre-370, I've been 3 times post the abrogation of 370. I've seen a world of a difference. I've seen more tourists flocking to Kashmir. There's more political stability in Kashmir. There's a better national security in Kashmir. There's less stone pelting. There's less violence. There's less conflict between the citizens of Kashmir and the armed forces. And there's far more economic prosperity in Kashmir. Who is benefiting from that? Not a person like me who's living in Mumbai. I'm benefiting as a tourist, that I'm able to go without thinking, is there a problem in Kashmir or not? The beneficiary of that progress is a Kashmiri youth who is largely a Muslim. So, is that a Hindutva agenda? And should that have been a Hindutva agenda? Or should that have been the agenda of the left parties, as you call them? Why were the parties depriving Muslims in Kashmir from economic growth and prosperity for 75 years? Why were left parties, when CA was implemented, spreading fear among Muslims that you will lose your citizenship if CA comes in? Which Muslim has lost their citizenship since CA has been implemented? I can't think of one. I'm not able to find one Muslim. So these are, unfortunately, this left-right are divisive agendas, and these are tools used by people to scare people to not vote for A or B. 370 has been hugely beneficial to the people of Kashmir, to the youth of Kashmir, to Muslims living in Kashmir. It's a wrong agenda spread by people that it's harmed the people of Kashmir. Western people spread that. People in India spread that. I don't know how it's harmed anyone. Because CA has not harmed anyone. CA, in fact,
yet it's going to be.
In fact, CA and 370, one can in fact argue that these are bipartisan agendas. Dr. Manmohan Singh, as leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha in 2003, 1 year before he became Chief Prime Minister, made a speech in Parliament saying religious minorities in Bangladesh and Pakistan should get citizenship of India. That's CA. I was a member of the UPA government. I know what was Dr. Manmohan Singh's vision for economic growth in our country. But there were people in his own government who were scuttling that vision, who were overturning his own files. And now they're saying there are not enough jobs. Are they equipped to give jobs to the people of India? When they were confused themselves when they were in power, they had a chance We had a chance in 10 years to do something historic. A lot of good things happened. I was proud to lead the e-governance initiative. I did a lot of ministries, a lot of ministers. The Prime Minister at the time did good work. There's no doubt. But there were a lot of people who were scuttling those efforts also within the government, creating confusion within the government. I know the Navi Mumbai airport right here in Mumbai. It's taken so long because of what people in the UPA government did. Not because of Dr. Manmohan Singh, but because of people in his own ministry. Why was that happening? Why were Muslims being told when CA was implemented, the same policy that Dr. Manmohan Singh wanted, you'll lose your citizenship? Why was that fear being spread? Why were people being told 370 is bad for you? When it's good for national security, it's good for tourism, and it's good for economy. But these are the questions that need to be asked. And these are the questions that often get these good initiatives often become victims of this left versus right narrative.
There is a left versus right narrative, but there is also an extreme right that what you're seeing. You know, when a person in the stature of a prime minister makes, you can say it's election rhetoric. But when you say things like, you know, Congress is going to be taking things away from the OBCs and favoring the minorities. I mean, Muslims are not a bad word. You've seen some of his rhetoric speeches. I don't want to repeat.
I'd like to believe that I think that these rhetoric of being there. I mean, now then the question can be that, you know, what about when leaders criticize Hindus? Does anyone say anything about them? So you have to be equal in your criticism. If you think someone has said something wrong against one community, then you have to criticize those who say something about another community. You can't say that it's fair to bash one community, but it's wrong to bash another community. And I don't think the prime ministers, you know, in elections, sometimes people make statements, but if the prime minister is referring to a previous speech made by a prime minister, which I know created a controversy when that happened. I was an MP at the time. I think it was 2005 or 6.
Manmohan Singh's right to resources.
Well, that was a controversial speech when it happened. It created a controversy at the time. I remember a minister of the government at the time defending that speech and got into a bigger controversy. And
as was the case with UPA usually.
No, and the minister of course has had and may continue to have a penchant for attracting controversy. But these things aside, I don't buy into this thing that someone is pro a community or anti a community. If someone said, you know, when Afzal Guru was to be hanged, Congress members said he shouldn't be hanged. Does that mean Congress is pro violence in Kashmir? Does that mean Congress is pro the attack on Parliament? When 26/11 happened in my constituency, I was an MP. It happened right in South Mumbai. The Prime Minister at the time, Dr. Manmohan Singh, the government of India was telling the world that this is Pakistan's doing. We should embarrass Pakistan. What did Congress leaders do? They came and released a book that 26/11 RSS ki sajish, saying Pakistan is not to be blamed, it's RSS who's done it. Are these responsible things to do? So I think nobody has a right to point fingers. We should look at which idea is good for our country. Make in India, when it was suggested by the Prime Minister of India in after 2014, it was dismissed by the Congress. I didn't do that. I thought it was a good idea, a good initiative. Today, if we hadn't built the infrastructure and the architecture around Make in India, today, when the world is looking to divest from China and increase their manufacturing in India, we wouldn't have been ready. So, opposing for the sake of opposition is not a good, healthy trend. Oppose on ideas, oppose on ideology, oppose on initiatives, oppose on policy. But blanket opposition just because someone has done that, who you don't like or you're opposing. Once in a while, I understand during an election period, we have to do that. I understand during an election period, we all have to attack and criticize each other. But elections, there's a reason why elections happen once in 5 years. So that in those 5 years, you can work together. You can find common ground. And that's always been my family's politics. My father, as chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, helped then Finance Minister Yashwant Sinha in Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government pass the insurance bill, which allowed for private sector in insurance. Who's the biggest beneficiary of that? You and I as citizens. You and I we had to only go to the monopoly LIC or GIC. Correct. Today you have Bajaj Allianz who will send you non-stop messages. You have ICICI Lombard, you have HDFC Standard Life. These are just 3 companies, 100, so many companies. The beneficiary is a consumer. So sometimes politics has to be put on shelved, and you have to do what is right for the country. If you really want to compete with China, you really want to strengthen India's hands, you really want to empower the youth, you can't do politics 24/7, 5 throughout the 5 years.
You have to also govern sometimes. But how?
And governing is not the sole responsibility of the government. The opposition also has a role to play in governance. The opposition these systems in our country were designed by our forefathers, keeping in mind that the executive and the opposition, the treasury benches and the opposition benches will disagree, but they will converge on certain issues and pass legislations. That system, unfortunately, is falling apart in our country.
Because you've always been part of a national party. Now you're part of a regional. Do you feel that how do you see your role in a Mumbai-based, in a Maharashtra-based party in terms of, because your pehchan really is also in the center. You have, you worked as a union minister, as I said.
Well, my role has always been my role has always been local and national.
Yeah.
And
international. We used to call you MP from Manhattan.
That's
remember?
Right. So I believe all things, my father taught me that you have to align local, national, sometimes regional also, local, regional, national and international interests. And he was a master at doing that. And he was a master at knowing how to bring Larry Pressler, who brought in the Pressler amendment which cut American aid for Pakistan, and made started the process of building bridges between America and India. How to tie that into Mumbai. He knew how to bring Bill Gates, before he became a massive philanthropist, to Mumbai and donate money for digital literacy computer programs to provide digital literacy for the poor. So, aligning local interests with national and international interests is not easy. And I will continue to do that. An MP gives you the platform to be national, to be international. But having that gut instinct and that training of what does Mumbai need and how can you bring that for Mumbai nationally, how can you bring that for Mumbai internationally? What does the international world, what does the world need? What does New Delhi need, which can be given from Mumbai? That is the strength of Mumbai also. So that's something I will continue to do.
Another question that I want to ask you is, you said in terms of working with the BJP, for instance, do you fear that there is a big brother at play for you? You've seen factories, Foxconn has gone from Maharashtra to Gujarat. The World Cup final went from here to Gujarat. So is there a feeling that you will not be able to have your say, especially when it regards the benefits of Maharashtra?
No, I don't think. I think, look, industry was lost for many reasons. We did lose some industry to other states, not just Gujarat. And there were many reasons. One big reason, when I talk to industry a lot, I know everybody from traders to industry, I get a sense of what they want. A big reason as to why industry began to leave Maharashtra. There are many reasons, but one massive reason was a deteriorating law and order problem in the state. A very big example of that. Can you imagine that outside India's biggest industrialist home, a police officer during COVID went outside and was planting bombs to extort money from that industrialist? I mean, one of the biggest industrialists in the world.
And this is when Uddhav was chief minister.
When he was chief minister, and when the chief minister at the time, in the assembly of the Maharashtra assembly, gave that police officer clean sheet. Police officers in jail, that's a different issue. If that can happen to the biggest industrialist, what will a trader face in that regime? What will a small dukandar face in that regime? These things have adverse impacts, there's no doubt. But I think today, with the Chief Minister's leadership, with a man like Devendra Fadnavis as Deputy Chief Minister, people are coming back to Maharashtra, people are coming back to Mumbai, people are feeling confident again to invest in Mumbai and Maharashtra. Of course, is there a lot more to be done? Yes, there is a lot more to be done. My vision is to bring a gift city type of international finance center to Mumbai also. And Mumbai doesn't have to mean South Mumbai anymore, by the way. Mumbai is also growing. Mumbai's MMR region, as we call it, like you have the NCR in Delhi, the National Capital Region. We have the Mumbai Metropolitan Region. We are now planning a third Mumbai. Now with the Atal Setu project, which connects the island city of Mumbai, South Mumbai to the hinterland, we can create a third Mumbai. We can have it there. So these are the goals, because Priya, today, whether we like it or not, Mumbai and Maharashtra are no longer competing with. There was a time where 30 years ago, Mumbai was the only economic center in the country. Then Mumbai and Maharashtra started competing with Tamil Nadu for the IT sector. We started competing with Hyderabad, and which was then Andhra Pradesh, now Telangana, with NCR, which means Gurgaon, Noida, Delhi. We have to grow our ambitions. We are not just competing now with NCR or Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or Bangalore or Telangana. We have to compete now with Dubai, with the UAE, with the Middle East, with Saudi Arabia. We have to compete with Singapore. That's how we will become a global economic center. And Mumbai has all the ingredients for that. I am very confident about that. We have certain sectors where we have great power than other countries. We have one of the most vibrant financial services sectors in the world, headquartered in Mumbai. We haven't lost that to other cities in India as yet. We have to build on that. We have the creative services industry of India, of the world. We have the film industry here. We have the advertising industry here. We have the TV industry here, the television content industry. We can build on that and become a global hub for content creation. So these are things we have to think about. This is where I'm helping the government of Maharashtra to rethink a vision for Mumbai, MMR, Maharashtra, of course, on how we can elevate our goals and ambitions and not just look at competing with the states you've mentioned, but really with countries which are 3-hour flights away from Mumbai.
Correct.
So, or from India. And that takes a lot. It means you have to have the infrastructure, you have to attract human resources, you have to have the ecosystem that allows for people to come in and do that. Middle East would not have, it was a desert, just producing oil. It would not have created Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Bahrain and what Saudi Arabia is attempting to do if they just left it at that. They created the ecosystem for it. The laws, the regulations, the people, the community, the infrastructure. That's how you built it.
So your strengths are, do I see economic diplomacy as your forte? If I see, Milind Deora, if I think Milind Deora, what do I think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my strengths are, I believe in getting things done, honestly. And I believe in being pragmatic about what is possible, what is not possible. If I say today, I want to make Mumbai an MMR region and IT hub again.
Right.
It's not easy. I have to accept that. That I have to accept that Hyderabad is an important IT hub. I have to accept that Bangalore is an important IT hub. Bangalore is facing problems. It's facing a water shortage. But Mumbai can take some market share of that. But things have changed. The IT-enabled industry has gone to the south of India, whether we like it or not. There are pockets in Maharashtra. There are pockets in North India. There are pockets in Kolkata. But we have to rethink what are our USPs, what are our competitive advantages. So those are the areas where I have a good connection to industry, from traders to industry to international level industry. And I have a good sense of what are the strengths and weaknesses also of Mumbai, Maharashtra and India. And how do we compete globally? So these are things we have to build on.
Okay, last few minutes, just a bit about domestic politics. Your candidate from South Mumbai, how do you see, there are also a lot of allegations about the kind of candidate your party has put up. Every time you see the name coming up, you also see that there was a 2 crore, some cash found in a house. So there is some scandal attached to the candidate.
Look, I'll be very candid with you and I'll say this on record. From 2019, when Uddhav Thackeray took a decision to align with Congress, and when Congress took that decision to align with Uddhav Thackeray, which was completely unexpected, in my opinion, it was a risky strategy on both sides. And I warned both parties.
Right.
I warned the Congress when I was in the Congress, and I even warned the Shiv Sena at the time. You're committing suicide. You're taking a big risk. You're doing something that both parties set out never to do. Since that time, and also Mr. Pawar was an architect of that alliance, there have been massive disruptions in Maharashtra's politics. You saw Shiv Sena break. Today Shiv Sena is the Shiv Sena party symbol, name for almost more than 2/3 of the MLAs and MPs have shifted to Mr. Eknath Shinde, who they see is the real Shiv Sena. A large part of NCP has moved to Mr. Ajit Pawar, who they see is the real NCP. And honestly, the only answer I have is that on May 20th, which is the last phase of the Maharashtra elections, this will be put to a test before the people of Maharashtra. Because for 2 years, there has been speculation as to what will happen.
Right.
And that speculation will come to rest on 20th of May when people vote. After that, there will be exit polls by channels like yours. And then there will be the results on the 4th of June. And that is when the people of Maharashtra, the politicians will know how the voters have reacted to these disruptions that have taken place.
But the kind of candidate who's been put up by a party, are you a little disappointed?
No, I don't think. She's an MLA from, you're talking about South Mumbai?
So South Mumbai.
No, she's an MLA from,
Yamini.
she's an MLA from Bhaikala, which is a very diverse constituency in South Mumbai. It has all communities living there. It has Maharashtrians, it has Muslims, it has Jains, it has all kinds of communities. And she's been a very effective representative of that area. So this is a decision we took with consultation. Chief Minister and I spoke about it. Of course, he sent me to the Rajya Sabha. He asked me, are you keen to fight the election? I said, I'm fine to fight the election. There was no real risk in a sense. But I also said that if you feel there's someone else we can put up, I'm more than happy to work with that person and support that person. And we are working well as a team. I know that family for a long time. Okay. I believe the voters will reward people who work hard, who want to do something, who've done something. Unfortunately, this area's MP, who won 2 times, one on a Modi wave in 2014, 2019. I remember campaigning.
Yes.
Nobody knew who he was. People said, we're not voting for him, we're voting for Mr. Modi.
I remember we were sitting and there was a Coke bottle lying on the table and you said, ye bhi khada ho jayega, jeet jayega, because of
So
Modi
people
ka
voted for Mr. Modi. That's how powerful his brand is. And nobody knew who Arvind Sawant was. People still don't know who he is. People still don't know how to reach him. People still don't know where his office
But
is.
he's been winning.
Well, as I said, he won on a Modi wave. Today will be a test. Today will be a test. He doesn't have Mr. Modi's backing today.
How did Eknath Shinde get this seat? Because a lot of powerful BJP names also, Rahul Navrekar, etc. wanted this.
The seat in the alliance discussions between BJP and Shiv Sena, it was very clear that seats which Shiv Sena had won in 2019 will stay with the Shiv Sena. And that's broadly been the case in the alliance discussions.
But he's got a large number of seats, 17 seats. Congress has 19 seats.
Yes.
That
And he's somebody who, as I said, who is very popular. He's somebody who enjoys a lot of public support.
He's a good negotiator.
Well, his popularity on its own is a good negotiator. He's somebody who's very hard working. In fact, I sometimes have little disagreements with him about how little he sleeps. And he is somebody who is continuously wants to work. He's someone who's accessible. He's someone who the smallest karyakarta, anyone from the public can meet him. Media have never seen a chief minister like this where they can access him. Public has never seen a chief minister like this. I've never seen from childhood going to the Varsha Bungalow, which is the chief minister's official residence. I've been going from childhood. I've never seen a chief minister like this who is so accessible to the public. So he's truly unique in that sense. And people like that. And there's a huge contrast compared to the previous chief minister and other chief ministers because he's very, very accessible. He's on the street. During COVID, he was wearing a hazmat suit and going out and meeting people. He got COVID twice during that period. So he's known as a person who's accessible. His strength is hard work, accessibility, a positive image, wants to work for the people, takes everybody along, has a very good rapport with the poorest of the poor, has a very good rapport with industry, can bridge both sides. Very unique.
Okay, finally, today is also a day where Rahul Gandhi has decided to contest from Raebareli. How do you see that candidature and why, people are criticizing him for not taking the gauntlet and fighting from Amethi?
I don't know. I honestly, I'm not keeping track of what the Congress does anymore. I have friends in the Congress. I don't have any ill feelings towards anybody in that party. I wish the Gandhi family my best. I wish the party my best. I hope, in fact, the party doesn't make it. I wished, in fact, for the last 10 years, the party had provided a constructive opposition. I always suggested that. Work with the government, do something good for the country. It was always struck down as a bad idea. In fact, I always tried to make the party's leaders change their image to a more positive, we're doing something positive, we have a vision for the country. it landed on deaf ears. So I'm nobody to see what the party is doing, to advise what the party is doing. I failed to advise the party for the last 10 years. I think the party could have achieved a lot more for itself, for its leaders, for the country, for constituencies like Amethi and Raebareli. Had they followed a more positive approach, they would have been able to attract more investments to those regions. They would have been able to attract more projects to those regions. The party would have been able to have a very different image of how its leaders are perceived, of how the party is perceived. But I wish them my best. I think the party was hell-bent on having a view. People like me tried. We failed. And at one point we had to ask ourselves, what is our higher purpose? Why are we in politics? I had to ask myself that. Am I in politics for power? I said, I'm not in politics for power. If I was, I wouldn't have waited patiently for 10 years without any power. But ultimately, I came in to serve the people. And if a platform no longer values you, and I say no longer because they did at one point, but if a platform no longer values what I bring to the table, or if a platform sees what I bring to the table as some kind of threat or some kind of negativity, then you can't function in that system. Then you're seen if you're seen as every constructive suggestion you bring, positive suggestion for the benefit of the party, is seen as something you're saying for your own sake. Then at one point, in any organization, Priya, it could be in a media organization, it could be in the private sector, somebody who's watching this interview in the company they work with. You can't work in a system where you're no longer rewarded, where you're no longer recognized for your talent, where in fact your talent is seen as a weakness or a threat or a negative. And at that point, I would encourage anyone that you must move on to places where you're valued and where you can contribute more meaningfully. And that's ultimately my goal, and that's my ideology. My ideology is, my father used to ask my father, he said, my ideology is to serve the people. He used to say, Jan Seva sabse bada vichardhara hai. Lok Seva, Jan. He used to say, Lok Seva, Jan Seva. And it's true. These things of, left wing, right wing, these are for people on Twitter to debate. For the real value of politics, as Gandhi ji used to say, he used to say कि असली राजनीति वह है जो जरूरतमंद इंसानों के आंखों के आंसू पोंछे. Real politics is to wipe the tears of a poor man's eyes. And that has to transcend ideology, religion. And for me, that's my politics. That will continue to be my politics, positive politics. And while I'm rewarded, recognized, my talent is utilized for the good of Mumbai, Maharashtra and India, so be it. I'll contribute positively and meaningfully.
On that note, thank you so much, Milind Deora, and we wait to see what you will do in the House of Elders. It will be interesting to watch your first Rajya Sabha speech.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.